were going over the news today on the NFL Police Blotter, and we were just talking about the Colts linebacker DeQuell Jackson and his little altercation with the pizza delivery guy.
Really?
You didn't hear about this?
I've been at work since early this morning.
Oh. Well,
yeah, it's been a long work day.
Well,
so fill me in. Let me know. I dialed into the show with the most knowledgeable host, so now you can fill me in.
Well, God bless you.
It's getting kind of deep in here.
Yeah. Well, Keith and I have been carrying you, so this will be nothing new.
I haven't even taken my coat off. Just got in the door.
Please don't. But DeQuell Jackson was arrested today for assaulting a pizza delivery guy due to an argument over a parking spot.
Amazing. I'm pulling up the article right now.
Yeah. So we had commented on this hasn't been a very good off season for the Colts. No. If you consider the arrest of Colts linebacker Josh McNary, it just this is not the kind of off season. I believe you talked about that in your article for the FantasyGreek.com.
Yes.
That this was their time to have a nice, quiet off season so they can put things together. And even though at the end of the day it's not as serious as the Packers nose tackle Troy Guion being arrested on felony possession of a firearm and marijuana, or former Raven defensive tackle Terrence Cody being indicted on numerous counts, including felony counts of torturing and killing an animal. It's still one of those things that the Colts just didn't need.
I mean, this is their third run-in with the law since they're, well, if you count the rape allegation, that's prior to the AFC Championship game, but technically it's the third altercation this year for them. Third time that a player's been at least in the headlines for doing something illegal. So it just seems like it was a tighter ship than what they're showing right now.
Could it just be bad karma, you think?
I don't know if I would say it's bad karma. It's definitely.
It's clearly Jay Cutler's fault.
It is, of course, it's Jay Cutler's fault. You kidding me? That goes without saying. No, you got to wonder though. It's just what's going on with them right now, because you have all these arrests, you have them getting thrown into the middle of the whole Deflategate thing, and it seems like their name is getting tossed around, and it's bad news. You haven't heard really anything positive.
But the fact that their name came up in the Deflategate investigation, that shouldn't really be a surprise. It happened during the Colts-Patriot game. I think it had been rumored at or about that time that the Colts had learned of this from the Ravens. And so for somebody to be mentioned, hey, they're the ones that told the league, shouldn't be a surprise, right?
No, but it just, I don't know, it raised a lot of questions to me. The whole thing about the GM being the one that really threw them under the bus.
It screams of sour grapes, really.
Oh, absolutely.
Because you get manhandled like that, and the most you can do is call the league about deflated footballs. Really?
But and that's the thing, is you think that they would have more important things to do in preparation wise, and just how the GM prior to the game starting. First off, who told him? How did he find out that the balls were deflated so he could contact the league to have them look at them in a half of football? Because most experts, including former professional quarterbacks, like I've heard it from Joe Montana, I've heard it from Drew Bledsoe, they say when you grab a football, that kind of difference you really can't tell, especially in cold weather. So how did they know to look for this? And it made me wonder, did the league tell them? Is this a witch hunt? Is this the league having it out for the Patriots? Because everyone knows that there's not a lot of love for Bill Belichick in the league office, mainly because of the way his attitude is and the whole videotaping the Jets that put a sour grapes And it's just to me, it's just weird that the way things unraveled.
Well, even if you want to consider that that's weird, I mean, at the end of the day, this isn't, an earth-shattering news piece. This isn't something that should affect their team performance-wise going into next season, but the loss of 2 linebackers potentially would be.
Yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we're on to our 4th piece of news for the day off the NFL police blotter. And it has to do with Cowboys running back Joseph Randle, who was arrested on drug charges. I don't know much more than that, whether there's any felony aspect to this or if it's just misdemeanor. Let's assume it's misdemeanor. But the one thing that I found curious was it's his second arrest in the past 4 months. And this is something I will admit to both of you I missed during the course of the season, and probably rightfully so. Apparently, the previous arrest was for stealing underwear.
Yep. He was shoplifting.
Shoplifting. Did suddenly the league minimum go down to $10,000 a year? Did I miss that?
At least
It
Jameis,
was polo underwear, so I mean, come on. We all know that's like $20,000 a pair.
At least Jameis Winston was going after crab legs. Freaking underwear.
Yeah.
But
I want to say there's a mistake on that somehow he accidentally put it in a bag and didn't realize it, and but anyway, that was the 4th piece of news on the NFL police blotter, and this was just a crazy day.
But I'm wondering if this is going to add fire to the whole debate on marijuana, because that's what his arrest was for, is unlawful possession. And I know that's a huge debate right now in the NFL, being the fact that there are some states that it's legal. And I know they're talking about there being a deal they're trying to work out with the Players Association to where they would allow HGH testing if they lighten up on the marijuana charge or marijuana penalties. So I'm wondering if this is just going to add to the debate, because it just seems like every other week you're going to have a player, and the news just came out the other day about Josh Gordon potentially being out for the entire year or more because of his issues with marijuana.
He's out for the year. It's a minimum 1-year suspension.
More?
There's a minimum 1-year suspension. But Keith, before we move on to that, you bring up an interesting point, and I'd like to know what you guys think. I mean, obviously the league can do anything that they want as it pertains to their own rules. Even if it's legal to smoke marijuana in every single state in the United States, the league could say, we will draw the line with marijuana. But do you think they should have to consider that position if it's medically prescribed marijuana?
I think if it's legally obtained, you can't. It'd be wrong to punish somebody for something that's legal.
Yeah. And also, I look at it as if they are using it.
Well, then let's back up. Wait, and maybe we should sort of bring this over to the Josh Gordon issue, or at least start thinking about it. Josh Gordon had been, as I understand it, pulled over for drunk driving at some point. All this, is that right, guys? Is that what you recall?
There's been so many. I don't remember exactly.
I know.
His. Let me see. If you keep talking. I'll see if I can find it. Okay.
Yeah, please do. And my point is let's assume that that's true. Okay, he made a mistake, and then he basically is now being flagged for drinking a beer. I mean, should that is it wrong? Is it over punishing Josh Gordon if that's what he's being punished for?
Well, I think it is, especially if you look at the fact that next
because
season,
everybody's saying he's having a problem, and my point is he having a problem? Or is it just he's been caught at all the wrong times when he's been doing something absolutely within his right to do in the confines of his own home?
I think it's the second part. And to me, the part that bothers me is I understand they have a strict substance abuse policy, but the fact that next season, potentially, both Adrian Peterson and Ray Rice could be playing in the NFL after what they've done, and a guy that had a beer has to sit out the entire year. That just... I know they have to stay strict with their substance abuse policy, but to an extent, I just don't understand the hypocrisy with that.
He was arrested in July 2014 for DWI. So this is not his first alcohol-related instance. But the thing is that when you get caught, you enter this program, and part of the program is that you have to be clean. So this is the same thing that cost Matt Prater his job in Denver last year. He was theoretically busted for drinking in his own house, but because he was part of this program, well, once you enter that program, then you have to be consistent from a legal standpoint as an employer.
But doesn't that seem inherently unfair?
Oh, absolutely. You're telling an adult who probably uses, and now if they're like severely abusing drugs and alcohol, that's a different story. But if they're recreationally using liquor, and even I'm even going to throw in marijuana to help control pain, which all players say from being a rookie to a veteran, they have constant pain throughout the years. Instead of taking like a harsher narcotic to help control it, to me, I don't see the trade-off. Like I would prefer they have a joint and a beer instead of taking some Demerol.
Wow.
I'm serious. I mean, it's
Keith, as you always like to say, he's not the best.
Look.
Go ahead.
Look, as in anything, and Jim, with your previous background, you could probably back me up on this. It's all about the money, and the money in this case I'm talking about is liability. And when you are an employee of the National Football League and you get busted for DUI, then you are doing it qualifies really as acts detrimental to employer. So you are sullying the reputation of the NFL even more than it is, and you can go about integrity of the shield and back and forth, all that back and forth. The NFL has a responsibility to try to hold its players to some kind of standard if they're going to be a part of this league. So it affects advertising revenue. It affects the future of the league in more ways than you want to. Put it this way: it could affect the league, whether it does, whether it will or not. It could affect the league's revenue down the road. So that is why when a player is busted for DUI, they become subject to random testing. And I'm sure that he signed an agreement that he'd be allowed to continue in the NFL and subject himself to this program, and part of the agreement of this program was that he had to be completely clean. You got to make choices.
Well said. Well said. For our listeners out there, you're listening to the FantasyGreek.com's NFL Power Hour. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 585-633-7487. That's 585-633-7487. Or tweet the Greek at hashtag AskTFG. Keith and Steve today was, we're already getting to it, but the Browns, it's like one after another, bad news. Josh Brown, it's official, 1-year suspension. Johnny Manziel checks himself into rehab. We've got Textgate. I saw that today, and I'm like, oh, did I miss one of these, Textgate, whatever, Deflategate? Did I miss one? And apparently I had. I guess Browns management sending texts to coaches on the sideline, which, by the way, I didn't realize you couldn't do. And in general manager Ray Farmer's name's come up in the whole thing, and I thought to myself, wow, it's the GM. It's not just somebody in management; it's the general manager. And then you may have missed it, but there's a great article Jason Lockenfor for CBS Sports wrote that today. It's lengthy, but it does a very good job at sort of walking through the problems within the organization. And it all starts with ownership and sort of the meddling that's been occurring and all the problems and things being up for grabs and people doing not just their jobs but other people's jobs. Sort of what is your reaction to everything that's been going on with the Browns this offseason so far?
It's kind of sad. I mean, you look at a team that showed great improvement this season, and now the offseason starts and they're just train wreck. I mean, I'm the only silver lining possibly with them is if this Johnny Manziel thing is legit and somehow he turns his life around, which I'm not betting on, just because I don't know if he's gone to rehab for the correct reasons or if he's been informed that it'd be good for his career to go, which obviously is the wrong reasons to go. But I'm just amazed because, after this past season, you would think, hey, the Browns potentially could be a playoff team next year. I mean, they were almost a playoff team this year. But now with the way everything's going,